happy Thursday, and welcome to episode 199 of Adult Conversation. I feel so old. 199. This is episode 199. I'm excited about celebrating episode 200 next week. But the most exciting thing is it's my birthday month because now it's September. It doesn't feel like September because it's hot as hell. Thank you. But it's definitely, we're in September now. So I decided, since I feel so old and I'm so sleepy, I've been up since 2 o'clock in the morning, and I started talking about this at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I talked to y'all about a whole bunch of sex last week. So I said this week I'm going to talk to you about something different besides sex. I'll talk to you a little bit about sex next week with our final episode. So tonight we're talking about back in the day, street fights. Doesn't it sound like 2 a.m.? Yes. So I had this revelation. Well, first of all, I guess I hope everybody's doing well. Time is going by so fast. I'm having a hard time keeping up. Hopefully everybody had a nice Labor Day holiday weekend. I made sure I did not work because I realize most people in their 30s don't even know why we celebrate Labor Day. So I'm like, it's to do no labor. So yeah, don't do any labor on Labor Day. So I made sure I stayed away from any work things. But I paid for that all week long because now I've lost a day. So I have so much work to do because I'm trying to catch up from enjoying my my non-labor on Labor Day. So, and I guess that's it. I mean, time's moving fast. I don't even know. I can't. I have been outside picking up sticks because every time it rains, like I have whole parts of trees that fall down in the yard. But I have a long way to go. So if anybody's free and you feel like hanging out in the heat and picking up sticks, I'll supply the beer. I don't have no food. Well, I have food, but not no food that I'm going to cook. But I did bring a corn muffin for Game Master, but I forgot it. But I'll make sure you get it before I leave. So we're going to talk about back in the day street fights tonight. And the reason I started talking about it is because I was thinking about back in the day, I think growing up in like the 80s, well, I could say the late 70s, mid 70s, after all the racism was not gone, but it was under control a little bit better. And then the 80s and then the early 90s, we just used to do a lot of different things to relieve stress and be in a better mood. And I kind of feel like that some of the young people are so angry because they just don't know what a good old street fight is. You know, what's a street fight to you, Game Master? Because I already talked about it, so I don't want to say my opinion before I hear yours. I know you know what I'm talking about, though.
Okay. I mean, pretty much, it's just, flat out fight that just, apparently.
In the street.
Yeah, it's in the street. You're two people who
you
may
had a
have
disagreement.
A beef, may not, I don't know.
And you just deal with it.
Just deal with it. And then in the end, you either shake hands, have a beer later, or whatever. I don't know.
Right.
So.
I mean, either one person won and one person lost. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because when I was thinking about street fights, the thing to me about street fights is when you had an altercation, it was a good way to settle it. But you didn't carry it. Like, you didn't hold a grudge. You didn't stay one with it. If you had a disagreement, you fought, and then that was it. Somebody won and somebody lost, and then whoever lost gets teased. But then you move on with your life. It wasn't like the drama of some of the things that I've been seeing on the news, because I've been surprised at how, I don't want to call them fearless, because I don't really think they're fearless, but the decisions that people are making to just not be free. I can't get with it. I don't really understand it. So it's kind of like we didn't do that as kids. Like growing up in my generation, we didn't settle things like that. And the parents would even let you have a good street fight. Like the parents, as long as everybody was being safe, and you weren't gonna cheat on the street fight, you could have a good street fight.
I think more so the dad will allow it. The mom would be like, "What are you doing?" So the dad's
some moms maybe.
Unless, depending on where you live, the majority,
moms.
Like, for me, it was like, my dad would, if he found out, I rarely got into fights anyway. So, but it's simple fact, it was like, hey, did you handle your business or whatever? It's like, got a couple shots in, blah, 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 and then move on. But, when you're with your mom, it's like they'll come out with, it's like, boy, what you doing? And grab you by the ear and pull you away, so.
See, and where I was at, you remind me where you grew up at. You grew up here or you grew up somewhere else?
Initially here, then for 8 years out of the country.
Okay. So I don't know. It could have been a little bit different with the travel, but I know in this area, Like street fights were all the time. Like you had to fight. The moms didn't care either because she didn't want you to embarrass her. So you needed. I mean, it was mostly boys. I mean, I wasn't in fights all the time as a kid. I probably got in more fights as an adult than as a kid. But that's because my sister and brother, who were older than me, used to fight so much. So I got so mean. People didn't want to fight me, and I was like one of the smallest things in the neighborhood, which was surprising. But I learned how to put enough emphasis behind the shit that I said. So it wasn't really going to get, to a fight. It wasn't going to get that fight. But then I realized some of the things that I've done, not recently, like at least two or more years ago, like just going off and like literally knocking somebody out. I still got the street fight in me, though. It definitely hasn't gone away. But I think with the generations that we came from, it was a way to be outside playing. You get into something, you fight, but you just become a kinder person. Even what fighting would do when it was just a fight, and you don't have to worry about somebody taking it further than just, you're mad at each other, so you fight, and then you're really not mad at each other anymore after that. So I thought that was interesting. We would spend most of our days, especially in the 80s, we were like playing on the street. That's all we did. We played on the street. We went outside. You'd be riding your bike, playing kickball, dodgeball, and you just run. Like, the best thing about kids is just running your ass off. So by the time, you didn't really have that time to be thinking about manipulating shit or being, taking things from people that don't belong to you, or just a lot of the dirty shit that we see going on now. Like, I don't know if you saw, well, I know you saw it because I know you keep up with what's going on. Like, I was shocked that the guy, like, escaped while he was in police custody. He's out there with, like, no shoes on. Like, they found one shoe. I mean, and even cuffs. Like, what gave you that idea that was a smart move? Like, what clicked in your brain at that moment that you like, fuck this, I'm rolling? I don't get where that comes from. And I say he probably never been in a street fight. Because if he had to be accountable for something, I think he would have made a different decision. So, I mean, I've been watching the news more lately because there's so much happening close to home. I just want to be aware of what's going on, especially with, like, I talked about the carjackings and all that shit that's going on. I just want to be aware of what's going on because a lot of places it's happening are where I'm at. If it's local, like I said, I think the last show, when my daughter's spouse's car was stolen, it was in Greenbelt. So, I mean, I'm going to be glancing at my car for the rest of the day, making sure my car is where it belongs, just because of association that shit's hitting so close to home. And I'm talking about the mild ones. I'm not even talking about, like, the 12-year-old who's just out there trying to take somebody's car. Like, what? You ain't never been in a street fight. Like, I mean, if you don't have a weapon, I say it's a good idea to just get out, like, just literally punch the kid in the face. Like, you can't do this. Like, this is not what you're allowed to do. So I said, he ain't riding no bike. He don't know nothing about riding no bike. He don't know nothing about street fights. He doesn't know. And then also, we used to be outside so much. I know I did as a kid. You didn't go home till the street lights came on. But when the street lights came on, you took your ass home. Because if you didn't, somebody was coming out looking for you. Or somebody was yelling your name or calling around the neighborhood trying to figure out where you were. And since as kids, we ran in packs. Like, everybody was always, you typically with, like, why are you laughing? We was typically with people. So your family knew who you were hanging out with. They knew where to look for you at. And I was in one of the first interracial neighborhoods that I knew of in this area. I'm not saying other areas didn't have it, but when my family and even a neighbor of ours, we were both interracial families, you didn't really see that a whole lot back then. You didn't see, like, the blending of families like you see it nowadays, which I also think is great. So there are also things we used to do that I thought about after my street fight, my flashback on the street fights. Like, you literally would hang on the rotary phone with the cord all stretched out, talking to your friends for hours if you couldn't get outside and you couldn't go hang out on the street. And then you would do playing records. And, like, if I said 8-tracks to my kids, they'd be like, what? They don't even know what a 8-track is. And actually, even I realized my daughter was asking me about putting air in her tire, and I'm like, how did I not teach you this? But I never looked at it as a thing to teach, because typically with like, I learned as a kid by watching other people do it. Like, I didn't have YouTube. I couldn't go on the internet and somebody was going to show me how to do something that I needed to learn as a life lesson. You just watched elder people do it, and you learned how to do that shit, even if you didn't physically do it. I think we were talking about changing the oil in a car, cooking. Like, it's just certain things for like making, as much as I love to make those honey muffins, them Sunshine Special honey sweet muffins. Literally, I knew how to make bread from scratch. Like, I knew how to use flour and water and make bread. Like, people don't even, because everything's so convenient now. So another thing we really got away from. Then I was thinking about, did you all have, what was it called? You used to have pen pals. So, like, kids from one school would write to kids from another school, and then you'd exchange information. And it was this paper person you made, and you would send the paper person after you, like, you know what I'm talking about? What was it called? Do you remember? It was a person. It was like a kid, and they named it something, and you would mail it all around. But anyway,
yeah, it's the pen pal stuff.
He would mail it. You would mail it around, and so we would actually take the time to sit down and actually write somebody as a letter. When's the last time you wrote a letter? Not typed it, wrote it.
Not type it.
You type you type it and then
no.
Okay.
I was like, no.
I was like, wow, damn, that's pretty cool. 8 tracks, of course.
I would say 40 years ago, maybe.
40? 40?
Let's see. No, correct that. Less than 30.
Oh, less than 3. Oh, that's not too bad. Yeah. I mean, shit, I barely have stamps these days because you can email everything now. Yeah, I definitely haven't written a letter in a really long, unless I'm writing a letter like to let somebody know to give me back some money for some, not like a creditor. I might write them a letter if I need to put it in writing, but that's probably pretty much it. But the thing about the pen pals is you just had to be careful and make sure that you were writing an actual person who was a pen pal, not someone in the pen, because that was a big thing back then too. They would think that you're the person that's actually in the pen. So the other thing I thought about was the black and white televisions. We didn't have a color TV. We had one TV, and it was always in the living room, and it always had the antenna that you would put on top of it so the TV wouldn't be staticky. And now with the access, I mean, if you have 5 tablets, 4 cell phones, and 6 laptops, you pretty much have everything that you need. So I wonder if they even still. I think the last black and white TV we had was the model that was in the big wooden case, and it looked like it was like a box with just wood frame and a TV screen. And I just heard they're coming out with some 96-inch TV or something, some huge mat. You saw that too?
Oh, they've been working with that for a while, and
it was out.
And I heard there might be in development of a 5K. So, or not correct that 8K. Sorry.
An 8K.
Yeah.
I don't even know the difference. Is that like?
That's it. Pretty much, it will be like. We're getting closer and closer to what we see in the movies, where you have this.
Okay, it's gonna be the same thing.
Visual illumination of like you're actually there. Yeah,
right.
We're getting closer to that.
I don't know what my TV is, but it has a fabulous picture. So depending on what I turn on, if it's something that's real colorful with a lot of action, I always like to watch it on the TV in the basement because the picture's so clear. Shit, I couldn't even imagine watching a black and white TV. How you gonna tell what color people are if it's black and white?
Well, you have black and white shows. So.
Well, yeah, I guess that's true if you want to go back to like I Love Lucy or some shit like that. So I also, as a kid, and I'm gonna ask y'all what y'all did as a kid, so have some answers ready for me, so I don't get too tired of talking. An 86-inch 4K. That's a pretty big TV. I mean, when I think of inches, I think in terms of penises, so it's kind of hard for me to imagine an 86-inch penis.
This dick!
Exactly. Thank you, Just Drew. Yeah, I can't imagine an 86-inch. If you would, I guess you'd have to get. How many 6-inch penises would you need to stack side by side to get 86 inches? If you think about it don't y'all think about it like that. I'll think about that like that. And then that'll give me a metric of how big 86 inches make. So is 86 vertical or horizontal? It's horizontal? It's that. That's vertical. Horizontal. Oh, from corner to corner? So it's okay, that makes sense. Damn, that would be a lot of penises. I'm sorry, I got distracted by penis. So then the other thing, I was thinking about how we used to play double dutch. Also, everything that I'm thinking about was always how we were so active. So kids spent a lot of time outside playing, which also helped build up their immunity so kids don't have so many allergies. Because if you're outside more and you're getting accustomed to the bacteria and whatever in the air and eating spiders and gnats flying up your nose. I mean, I read somewhere that you at least eat like, I don't know, was it 7 flies or 17 flies in your lifetime? 70? Yeah, about you eat quite a few flies by accident in your entire lifetime. And then I also used to go to, well, the neighbors down the street, they had a bunch of bushes in their yard. Well, I mean, we still had woods back then. It wasn't like houses and stores side by side by side. But I would go find the honeysuckle trees and make sure there were no bee. You know what I'm talking about? I love how you be knowing what I'm talking about. And then you just pull the thing out, and it's just a little drop. It really wasn't even honey. It was just a little wet spot. That was sweet. And it was so tiny. It was like a pinpoint. But it still was fun to do it. And then we spent and then I used to spend a lot of time laying in the yard looking for 4-leaf clovers. I never found one. But I figured the more time I laid in the grass looking for 4-leaf clovers, the more I might be able to find one. I don't know. 4K UHD is the shits. Are we still talking about TVs? Because I told you I could only measure TVs and penises. I don't understand. We spent a lot of time reading books, going to the bookmobile. Did y'all have a bookmobile? You know what the bookmobile is?
Yeah, no, yes.
Did y'all have a bookmobile in the South? I figured y'all. How y'all get books to read? From school? Oh, poor bit. The library? Oh, okay. That's nice.
Actually, I wasn't really a fan of reading normal books. I was into the comics, like, right from the...
Oh, well, that would make sense. Yeah, that I could see you being... But you were still reading, though, even if you were reading the comics. Well, not to my
mom's eye, I wasn't reading.
Oh, wow. Okay.
She wanted me to read, like, Moby Dick and all that stuff, and I was like, I was not interested.
I never read Moby Dick. I didn't. Yeah, comics to Moby Dick, that would be kind of... I'm going to start going back to listen to books on tape. Well, books, not necessarily books, but things that interest me that I've been trying to read this little teeny book for like the last week, and I only got through the prologue, so I probably need to just listen to something. And also another thing I thought about, back in the day, we didn't imitate people we saw on TV. Like, we made up our own dances, which I thought was pretty cool. Versus, like, you don't agree?
I think it's a little both. I mean, it's like an initial, because you got to get it from somewhere to make it your own creation.
Yeah, but like pre-color TVs, you couldn't watch. I mean, the only thing going was like Soul Train.
Well, I believe by the 80s, a lot of people had MTV.
So I definitely didn't have MTV in the 80s.
Or Friday night videos if you couldn't afford it.
I don't even never saw Friday night videos.
Oh, you didn't stay up late on Friday nights?
Probably not. No, I was already tired because I ran a lot as a kid. I probably ran the streets all afternoon. That was. So, but then I'm exhausted.
Yeah. Well, there was like other.
Oh, I did forget about Showtime at the Apollo. Yeah. That was late. That was early. I should have looked up years stuff happened, but I didn't do it. But yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. So I think by that time, a lot. If you remember Solid Gold.
I do remember Solid Gold.
So they will have some dances there. But yeah, you'll see something on TV for one of those shows, and then you do a little bit, but then you try to imitate throw in your little spice to it to make it your own dance, and then people could follow that. So
no, I get that. I guess I'm thinking in terms of he's an '80s baby. That's ain't nothing wrong with being an '80s baby. It's probably in terms of how now, like even if you go out, depending on where you go, so much of the music is like a dance that someone has created, and everybody's trying to do that dance. Whereas I feel like back in the day, people were more creative, so they wouldn't necessarily follow a dance. I mean, there must be 20 songs that there's a whole dance off. The whole song is just a dance song, and I just don't recall doing that. I do remember Solid Gold. I haven't thought about that, and oh my gosh, they used to be flashy as shit. What else did we used to do? Oh, the games that one of my favorites as a kid was definitely playing dodgeball and kickball on the street. And back then you could play on the street. You could literally play in the street, on the street, and if a car was coming, they would wait for everybody to get out the car. They would not get out the street. They wouldn't upset your kickball game. Do you remember that? Yeah, I was a kicker too. Maybe that's why I ended up being a kicker with football. What else? We used to do twirling the batons. And then hula hoops was definitely a big thing, which I do have one friend that I know from the private affair, and every time she's at the pool, she has her hula hoops. So she hula hoops naked by the side of the pool, which I think is pretty cool. Like, that's her thing, the hula hoop naked. So people still obviously do use hula hoops. Oh, yeah, step on a crack, break your mother's back. What are those were called? I don't even remember what they were called. Like, just,
Sayings or
well, it's like,
omens.
yeah, I want to say, I don't want to say omens because it's something we used to call it. And then you was mad at your mother, so you purposely stepped on a crack. That was bad, but I can't say I never did it. I talked about the oil in the car, tires and shit like that. Learn how to cook. So probably my favorite thing was still, and I probably only did this like 2 or 3 times as a kid. So you get in an altercation on the school bus ride home, and the first thing you'd be like, it's so off the bus, which just signified that it was going to be a fight when you got, superstitions. Thank you, Twan. That's what I was trying to think of, superstitions, when you said omen. Omen sound evil, so I said I was going to say superstition. Like no black cat. I still don't like black cats like that, but I don't necessarily split poles or walk under ladders either, so I guess some of it does stick with you for your entire lifetime. What else did I want to touch on? Well, I already talked about the fear thing, and I still don't think these kids have. But if anybody wants to have street fights, let me know, and I'll see if I can set something up official, and y'all can release some of that anger, and we can get outside and just hold regular old street fights. So name two things that were your favorite thing that you used to be able to do as a kid that you don't get to do anymore. Is that hard? No.
Oh. Because there's some of the things I used to do, I can do, I just don't do it. Is playing a pickup game of
Pickup sticks?
No, of a baseball game. So
baseball games. Yeah.
I live near an area where we could play baseball in the spring and summertime and football in the fall winter time. So, but yeah, I'm too old and bones will be breaking.
You wouldn't consider like playing softball since you enjoyed it?
I won't mind. I just feel like, because my dad and we used to do that when we were in Zimbabwe. So, and I mean, it's a good exercise and all that stuff, but I just feel like I get back spasms and stuff. So
I can understand. So, I ain't trying to get you to injure yourself. Yeah. Don't be talking about, look, we can talk about masturbation. Don't be talking about I sent you outside to play and your back broke. And you be texting me, blaming me, talking about I made you break your back. Yeah. Anything else you can think of? But you would play baseball if you thought you were capable of doing it easily.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I would. Yeah, I could see that. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Also, like, I don't know. I know there's adult tag. There's if you look online, I've seen it online before, and of course there was the movie about it. So something like that, where you, again, like you said, being free flowing kids and just randomly make up shit and play around.
Yeah.
So
I definitely miss running. Like, I miss running freely. Because now you can't just be running in the streets, you'll get hit. So I definitely miss me.
Unless you're running away from the police, or...
David said they used to sit on a stick and then somebody pull it to see if the stick breaks so they could fall off. I'm like, okay, that sounds dangerous. That sounds like you about to go in a swamp. I also would, if I could, I probably still would do this, even though I probably shouldn't. I definitely used to miss, like, running and doing cartwheels, like, through the yard. That was my shit. And I could do round-offs back in the day. If I tried that now, somebody would probably have to drive me to the hospital. But if I thought my body could withstand it, I would just randomly run the fuck around doing cartwheels where there was grass. I just do that shit as much as I could. Because it was always, I always enjoyed the gymnastic shit. Anything you would do, Miss? Well, you act like you still in college. Anything you would do that you used to do that you can't do anymore? What's pickup? Because y'all both said that.
Yeah, shows up. Yeah, it's not organized,
structured or planned. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I didn't know that's what they called.
Yeah, it's just
that's why I was like, you was gonna say pickup sticks. I remember. Yeah, I didn't know that's what it was called. So it's just like pick up the players who show up.
Yeah.
Do you choose teams or people just
Yeah,
be
we
on the
do.
team?
Sometimes we did.
Oh, okay. That's
So,
interesting.
Sometimes you next guy comes like, hey, he's on my team, and just
Oh,
plays
okay.
on. You know.
Oh my gosh, I used to hate in PE. Well, I did love Mayday Playday. But I used to hate in PE when you'd have to pick teams. You never wanted to be the last person that somebody called on their team because then everybody just looking at you funny. I usually wasn't last, probably because I was mean. So if they made me last, then I probably try to fight you off the bus or have a street fight. Oh, mess. David said, what about a merry-go-round? Spin it real fast and see if you can hold on. Yeah, that merry-go-round shit, that shit will have you sick as a dog. Oh, my gosh. Definitely sick on the But you can still do roller coasters. But I don't even trust that like 1,000. I don't trust roller coasters anymore 1,000% of the. Yeah, I can see me now. Oh, shoot. I don't think I've been on a roller coaster in like 5 years. Yeah, I might not
With
make
the
it.
loops or without?
Shoot, the last time I think I got on like the Berserker and I didn't know it had started going all the way around. I thought I was gonna die on that thing. I'm serious, like I can do fast motion. I can even do a quick loop, but don't be hanging me upside down. Don't leave me hanging too long. My equilibrium get fucked up. And you know I'm short. I ain't got a lot of shit on. If I feel like my body about to slide out the seat, no, I can't. You need to make sure I'm in here good. I need extra seat belts or something. But I do love roller. Well, I used to. Let me say that. Till I got older, I think your shit changes. Anything else you would still do? You could play basketball though. I'm surprised you picked that. It's not like you couldn't go play basketball. Fucking Twan, you are so funny. Twan is my friend who's be like, he don't mess with the squirrels. And they gonna say and tell me that he busted his teeth flying off the merry-go-round. I fucking get like, you. We need to put you in a safety bubble. You're dangerous. Oh shit, that's it. Oh okay, all right. I guess you do everything like you used to do it. All right, so the second part, I don't even know if I wrote that shit on the agenda. I did the agenda so fast, I'm not even playing. I was going to separate the years, but that shit was too much work. I said, no, I got to lump this all together because too much has happened. So what was the favorite thing from childhood that you could remember that you always had as a kid? Like, I had a Cabbage Patch Kid. I saw your look on your face like, what the fuck is she talking about now? Like, Cabbage Patch Kids was probably one of the even though I think mine was a fake Cabbage Patch. I don't think I had a real one, but
The bootleg version.
mine was like a patch kid.
Besides my Atari, excuse me, correction.
Atari's on this list too.
Yeah, it was actually, I got ours. Ours was not officially Atari. It was the Sears knockoff. So, which is still play the games, which
Sears
was fine.
and Robot.
And I mean, that definitely stood out for me because I was able to change the controller because the way the controller set up, I wasn't comfortable with it, so I had to flip it and I had to rethink of how to maneuver the games. So when I played it, so things that were the controller, if it's going up, I had it switch, so I had to go down to go up. So, and that's
confusing as shit.
Because I'm the only one who knows how to do it. Because I had to move. I had to get. I never played Nintendo. I wasn't really a fan of it. I just with the Atari controller, the button, I didn't like where the button was placed.
So you moved it.
So I had to move it. So because of the fact of, when I go to the arcades, I mean, mind you, you're using two hands anyway, but when you're using one, I had to maneuver the button to the point where I can properly accurately fit it for myself.
Oh, that's interesting. So you was just re-rigging. How were you re-rigging games?
I would say re-rigging. It's just all it is just flip the controller upside down. When did we get it? I think
so the controller did the same thing if you flipped it the other way?
Yeah, it's just the controller is fine. All I did was I just did this to bring it to the point where I'm properly controlling it, and I just had to rethink of moving things up and down. So
I got it.
Yeah.
Did you have anything that stands out before I tell you I don't want to say it, and then you think about what's on the list, and then I'll tell you what the list is. Legos. Forgot about Legos too. What would you build? What was the wooden one called? Where you snapped the little
Lincoln Logs.
Lincoln Logs. I see. Yeah, I think Legos was your generation. Lincoln Logs was probably. I don't remember if Legos were out.
They came in around the same time. I think
They
Legos
did.
took over, but you still had both Lincoln Logs and Legos.
Because Lincoln Logs came in that tub with a green lid. Okay. That didn't go together? Oh my goodness. David said they grew up on a farm, so his favorite game was to jump on the back of the pig to see how far he could ride it. I wish I'd have grew up on a farm. That would have been a lot of fun. I definitely would have liked to have been out there with the animals. So they had, and see, y'all are men, so it's always gonna be your, like, everything you said is like boy preference. But they had Cabbage Patch Kids, Care Bears. Do you remember the Magic 8-Ball? That was the dumbest thing. It wasn't even really a toy. I mean, it didn't really. It just, yeah, okay. My Little Pony, which I didn't think My Little Pony was out for that long, but maybe it was. Viewmaster. Everybody had a Viewmaster. Did you have a Viewmaster? Okay. From the swap meet? Oh shit. I said My Little Pony. Pogo Ball. I don't even know what Pogo Ball is. Is that the stick you jump up and down on? No, that's not a ball. That's a pogo stick. I don't know what a pogo ball is. Yeah, I have no what it is. It's something about the sidewalk. Rainbow Bright. Mr. Potato Head. I definitely had. I had Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head. And Light Bright. Yeah, I definitely had Light Bright was my shit. Light Bright was definitely my shit. Elmo. I remember Elmo. Speak and Spell, which rings a bell. Simon Says the game.
Simon the game.
Oh, that you press the buttons. Yeah, that was a good one too. Oh my gosh, what about Big Wheels?
Yep, I had one.
You always think about your bicycle, but you rarely think about riding big wheels.
Yeah.
Big wheels used to be fun too. Did I have? I don't remember if I had a big wheel or I had to use another siblings that just got popped out. I don't know what poppies are. Is that a drug? Wait, what is this? Popples, Popples, Poppples. It was some kind of teddy bear with a lot of colors, and they had names like Potato Chip, Puffball, Pancake. Don't remember that shit at all. So,
What was the last one?
Potato Chip, Puffball, Pancake. That's the name of some bears. I don't remember that at all. Transformers. So Transformers came out that long ago. Definitely remember the Transformers. Well, they were introduced in 1984. I do love the Transformers. Walkmans, which I don't think that's a really toy, but I know everybody had a
toy.
Everybody had a Walkman. But it was like an upgrade to the 8-track.
You if you had a Walkman,
you was the shit.
Yeah.
You was the shit if you had a Walkman. Smurf figurines. But these were from, they've been around since the 50s. But some of the Smurfs, I don't remember Hefty Smurf or Baby Smurf.
Oh, they came in later.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
They must have came after I stopped watching the Smurfs then. Because I don't.
Once the Smurfs.
What was Hefty Smurf? Heavy? You sound kind of racial. Was he Heavy Smurf?
Yeah, he was heavy.
And they named that motherfucker Hefty Smurf? You got to be kidding me. I'm going to Google that. Hefty Smurf? That's so mean.
Right.
You mentioned, you said it wasn't Atari, but they definitely talked about Atari. And this, I definitely had, E.T. was a big thing, and Pac-Man. I mean, I can still play the shit out some Miss Pac-Man. Like, I still to this day remember the way to go on the board to get the ghosts and keep it moving. Definitely one of my favorites. But since I had the kids, then I went to Nintendo. I went to Nintendo 64. I went to Sega Genesis. Like, we had all the fucking gaming systems. I did them all. But, of course, Super Mario Brothers was always my favorite. I played that shit till I couldn't play that shit no more. I knew where keys was. Like, it was just amazing. Would not do shit because I'm in there playing the kids' video games. Yeah, most definitely. Masters of the Universe. That was He-Man. Okay. They said today, if you have the action figures in very good condition, like He-Man, that you can get more than $1,000 for the action figure. You got any old He-Mans laying around? We'll split it. Cause I told you, so we got to split the monies. Oh fuck, the glowworm! I forgot about the glowworm too. That was that little green thing that had like the hard balls in it. Yeah. She-Ra. Isn't She-Ra from Masters of the Universe?
Yeah, there she's her He-Man's cousin.
Oh, that's He-Man's cousin. Okay. They said that, but she had powers.
Yep.
Yeah, telepathic communication with animals made her a complete boss and gave Barbie a run for her money.
Actually, yeah. When she,
so she's a little more beastie than Barbie.
Yeah, when she came out, because Barbie was kind of, I don't want to say on the decline. She was. I remember when She-Ra came out, and
She-Ra. I haven't said that shit in so long.
Yeah, actually, a Netflix show about her. So it's
about She-Ra.
Yeah, it's really good.
Okay.
It's completely hardcore. Anyway,
have you seen that? Oh, I need to find that.
Yeah, so around the Barbie was kind of like figures like she was doing her own thing, and really most of the stuff they were pushing was kind of the same old stuff. And then when She-Ra showed up, it was like, whoa, okay. So she kind of like took the mantle a little bit, and her and Jem. So those two.
Jem?
Yeah, Jem. Truly outrageous. So
okay.
And because their dolls kind of like was giving Barbie a run for her money around the 80s. So
they said back then it was Barbie and the Rockers. So it's kind of like when Beyonce was Destiny Child.
No.
Yeah, it's like the
that's
same
what Barbie
shit.
did because when Jem, I remember that because when Jem came out and she had her crew and the Misfits, that's the alternate band to Jem.
Right. I remember the Misfits.
So
that's
they were they were giving. That's where you get Barbie and the Rockers. Because Barbie was kind of like, oh, we got to catch up. So
right, that's interesting. So of course they talked. I think we mentioned Nintendo Game Boy, and that started around the 90s. They sold 40,000 units on the first day. I don't know why. That's just crazy. I mean, it was the next. It was Tetris the game. I never played that.
That game, they wanted to put it.
It's the game crack of the 80s.
Yeah,
like, what the fuck? Of the 90s, actually. The game crack of the 90s.
Anybody, no matter how old you are, can get stuck on some
Tetris.
Once you learn.
Was that the one with the snake? And you had to shoot it?
No,
okay, I don't know what.
Shape change.
Oh. Oh, damn. That sounds too time consuming. I mean, you know my favorite game is Dave and Buster's, the fishing game and the race car game. I love that race car. My race car can flip. Oh, really? Oh, my goodness. I'm about to check it out. Did they have it at Dave and Buster's?
No.
Okay.
But they did Apple did a movie about how Tetris became popular, and it's in. Pretty much, it almost started World War III because of it. Because it's a Russian created game, so that's why it's.
Oh wow!
So we had to get and that's where Nintendo's kind of like, hey, let's put it in on our Game Boy because a lot of people thought it was kind of interesting to play, and then that's skyrocketed the Game Boy, and that's why you get the numbers that you got.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a huge number. I think that's when I used to take the kids to I forgot the name of the thing. They still was it not? It wasn't. Wasn't there another one besides GameStop? I'm thinking of GameStop. It wasn't one you could go trade and stuff. I don't think they're around anymore. It could have been GameStop. I don't know.
Sorry, I think you can trade with GameStop still, but there was another.
I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah.
So. Hence the Russian music on the game. Hence the Russian music on the game. Oh, that's okay. You were always saying it was Russian. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't remember Dr. Mario, but I do remember Mario Go-Kart. But I feel like that came out much later. The Star Wars figurines, which were released in 1977 for The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi released soon after. So, kids all over the country were dying to get their sticky fingers on the mini Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, and Darth Vader. Didn't they have trading cards for those too? Or am I thinking about
Yeah.
something? Yeah, I think I remember
Uh,
seeing the trading cards.
Yeah, even them.
What did you say?
Trading cards for the garbage pail kids.
Oh, I remember the Garbage Pail Kids. Yeah. Didn't they come with a nasty piece of gum
Yeah.
that was all hard and stale by the time you opened it? I think so.
I
Most things with cards. Packs.
Swan, what else did traded games back in the day besides GameStop? Because there was another one, but I think they went out of business. I can't remember. I don't know. What are they talking? Oh, Skip It. The perfect playground creation. It was a ball attached to a plastic string filled with fun. Oh, I think I know. And then you put that thing on your ankle, and you jump and and you spin. Do you remember that? Oh, that shit was hard. Shit, you had to be athletic for that shit. You get fucked up. That motherfucker swing back too fast, you on the ground. I didn't like Skip It. Yeah, the yo-yo. Yeah, you had to hop over the string of how you were doing the They said they should have renamed it Trip It instead of Skip It because kids was I bet that shit got recalled. What else do we have? We had
the hacky sack.
The hacky sack is not on here, but I do remember hacky sack.
Yeah.
Oh man, I remember I used to play Battleship, even board games. Like they didn't put a lot of board games on here. Trouble, of course. Operation. I mean, there's so many. Connect Four. I could work with that. Go Fish, all that shit. I play cards. I didn't care. The Big Yellow Teapot.
What?
I don't know what the fuck that was. An indestructible plastic teapot was all the rage in the early 80s. Ideal for parents who weren't ready to give their toddlers anything they could swallow. French toast? Backgammon. But yeah, that's crazy. That must have been a different type of people than the people I know. Yeah, I don't understand. Yeah, oh, and it had a plastic family and a plastic dog. So you give them a big yellow teapot so they don't put parts in their mouth, and then you give them a plastic family with a plastic dog. That just doesn't even sound logical, but okay. I mean, we were still learning about kids choking to death, obviously. Because we didn't belong in the house playing with that shit. And I don't know if y'all mentioned it. I know somebody mentioned Light Bright, which I love. Etch-a-Sketch.
Oh,
You can waste many hours on Etch-a-Sketch. Oh, the Knight Rider Big Wheel. I know that's. I loved Etch-a-Sketch. I didn't like some of the turns was hard though. When they used to like draw shit, I'd be like, how did you do that? They also didn't mention an old favorite, Rubik's Cube. I mean, you waste hours on that shit too, trying to get them colors back. I would break it. I would pop the if I had like one left, I would break it. You could tell I had broke it though. I would pop it off because I'd be so frustrated. So I just pop it off and put it back back in there. And the last one they had was Teddy Ruxpin.
Oh God.
I remember Teddy Ruxpin. He was the talking bear, right? Yeah, he could talk. Wow. Well, that was
Before there was Chucky.
that was. I mean, it was I think I was at the Charles County Market, and they have like an antique toy store in there because a lot of stuff like they didn't talk about like gumball machines. I mean, there's a ton of things missing on the list. We could probably go on forever, but it's crazy that they don't talk about the gumball machines, and especially there were other things that we did non-playing. Like it wasn't necessarily a toy, but we found a way to play with it. I mean, all you had to do was get a stick and hit a rock. Oh yeah, the little teeny comic in the bazooka gum. Oh, I remember running for the ice cream truck, and then we're gonna be wrapping up soon, y'all, because I'm exhausted. So we was gonna make this a short night. And there's only but so much old shit that we can talk about in a 2-hour time period. And we're not doing a game tonight because we'll have a big show for our final show next Thursday. So I'm trying to rest up for that so I can be on time. Poppy seeds. Is that a drug like popples? Oh, you talking about the popples? I still don't know. I don't remember the popples. So I still think though we can make anything out of a game, which is kind of funny when you reminisce about all the old games that used to be out. I mean, I still have a ton of games that some of them I can't get rid of my Connect 4. I don't know why, but it's still fun. Like if you really want to, like I could play it, teach the grandkids how to play it. So that's something that will never like go out of style. And then for space and Naked Twister, it don't get no better than that. I mean, you can't not have fun playing Naked Twister. Scrabble? That's too complicated. That makes you think. I like games that you don't have to think. You just play. That's why a lot of times when people want to play spades or I don't want to play because I have to think. And it's just not fun for me to sit and chill and have to think how to beat you. I just don't. I play Uno because then I ain't got to really think. I can just look at colors and numbers. But if I have to think of a strategy to beat you, it's just not worth my time. Why are you laughing at me? I don't need to sit at no table. I oversee shit. I just oversee what everybody is doing and shit. You talking about there's some animals that folded into balls. Was that the Furby thing? I think those were those Furbies, and you put it. I'm thinking those might be Furbies, but don't quote me because I'm tired. So I don't know this shit could be called anything. Well, that's it. That's all I got for you guys tonight. I didn't do a game. I said I was gonna make it 1 hour. I made it because I've been up since 2:00. Oh, I thought I lost my heart, but it's right here. It looked pale for a second. So, any final thoughts? Or y'all don't want to go back to the 80s with me? We should have an 80 dance party. You don't want to go back to the 80s? Have you ever been to a throwback party?
I've been invited.
You don't go?
But I don't go.
I think it's like going to your high school reunion and shit.
I haven't.
It's the
I've
same
never
shit.
been. My high school reunion's in another country, so
He like you ain't going back to that shit.
Yeah, I mean,
before Furbies.
Doing costuming in an era that you never lived in doesn't make sense to me.
I can understand that.
So I mean, it's like for some people, for me, it was like, okay, I lived this. I was either a kid, a little kid, and if you do a 70s party, if you do an 80s party, I was a teenager, but still is kind of like, to me, the 80s and today are kind of the same. Just the world is has an attitude change.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's how I view it now. So
that's true.
You know, if you're thinking of like how the looks are, I mean, mind you, seeing somebody in tight neon pants now for an 80s, we're doing it for an 80s party. Was like, damn, you can do it now if you want to.
Ain't that the truth? Because
Yeah.
I definitely saw this woman walking down the street. I think this was yesterday. And, I mean, it'd be so many people on Georgia Avenue, so I just be trying to drive slow, pay attention. And I looked over. I said, why she got on her robe and her bra and her panties and she walking down the street? I mean, she was clearly running somewhere. It just was like, fuck it, I'm going. I'm just not used to I'll never get used to seeing stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, if we were in that type of world that you could do that, then cool. But, I mean, you definitely didn't have no clothes on walking down Georgia Avenue. Like, I ain't even want to stare because I didn't want to see what you were doing. But it was just, I'd be like, what the fuck? So, but I see that all the time. Go way back. Oh my gosh, you talking about Jacks? You really going old school. That was you got that from the those were passed down and marbles. All this shit was just passed down and passed down and passed down. Anything final you missed, Mr. Walker, before I wrap up? You don't have nothing to add? This is episode 199. We only got one more show. This show is over. Then we only got one more show. It's gonna be a big one. All right, guys. Well, have a good night. It was great seeing you all on the feed, and I'll be more awake next week. And I got some special guests stopping by next week to help us close out the 200th episode of Adult Konversations. So I'll be looking forward to seeing you. And then once we conclude that, I'll let you know what's next with Sex Talk with Sunshine. So enjoy the rest of your week, and I will see you soon.